dairy. Dairy, milk. You know, milk, cheese, that stuff that they put in everything. They put over everything. Yogurt, ice cream. Let's think for a second what milk is, because I never thought about this. So, I never thought that cows have to be pregnant to produce milk. They have to either be pregnant or have had a child to produce milk, just like us. I thought, this is going to sound pretty silly, but some people might think the same thing. I thought cows just produce milk by themselves. I thought that's what they were here for. They just produced milk. No, there's a process. There is a process.
Is to stop people from eating meat, milk, and eggs.
Do you want people to stop eating meat?
I want people to act in their conscience.
But you didn't really answer the question. Do you want people to stop eating meat or eggs?
I think that, again, Are we asking me personally, or are we asking the Animal Legal Defense Fund?
She never did give a direct answer.
Workers at the turkey farm abusing the birds.
Animal rights activists have exposed things that need exposing.
Farming isn't always pretty.
In our 10 years of being undercover, we have never seen such consistent, constant abuse to a newborn baby animal. Fair Oaks Farm is the largest dairy in the United States. They have created a joint venture with the Coca-Cola Corporation. The difference between Fair Oaks Farm's dairy adventure and the reality of the dairy industry is night and day. Everything is a lie.
Toyuqlar nə boyda olur? Buna bax. Bir toyuğa 400 qramı şapbulladır buradan bu tərəfə. O birisini elə, o birisini elə. Bəs. O birisi nə? Buduna da vur baxın, bud nətəri şişir. Əlini çək.
Okay, so behind us we have some rescued dairy calves, and these are the lucky ones, but tomorrow we're going to a dairy farm to see the ones that are still suffering and still enslaved. Okay, so we're just out the front of a dairy farm here in Israel. We're here to meet Tal Gilboa and her boyfriend, and we're going to do some documenting of the animals inside. So, how do we avoid it?
Just put, I walk like this.
Don't be with the camera always like this.
Okay.
Okay? This is where you're eating from. Yeah. It's disgusting.
So this is like a big prison of suffering. You can feel the energy in here, just sad, separated families and despair, and there's just no hope in here.
They look really sad, don't they? Like in there, you see that they look
like taking all their life, or squeeze them.
Sucking the life out of them.
Everything, they squeeze everything. From their soul, from their body.
Their body, their emotion, their children, everything. Yeah, so the girl behind us, she's looking really thin, and like just what happens is they just suck all the nutrients out of them through the milk, suck the absolute life out of them to like a bony mess like this lady behind us. It's just, see the hip bones just protruding out there. And on the floor here is just their waste.
Everybody's not okay.
Yeah.
They are very young.
Very young.
They're already sick and thin,
Yeah.
and not feel good.
Yeah.
And they squeeze, like I told you before, they squeeze their life.
Yeah.
They squeeze everything from them.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the milking parlour. This is where they're hooked up with the suckers and they suck the milk out of them. Down here, you can see the milk coming out. They're essentially milk machines, aren't they? So. So as you can see, all of her legs, there's feces all over her. Feces all over her hooves, feces all over her legs, feces all under here, all feces. So, on the udder, there's also feces. And this is how you get feces in the milk, because there's feces all over the animals.
So much suffering here. So she comes from the dairy industry and she's blind. She was rescued, yeah?
She was so skinny that all her bones were out.
Oh no.
So she didn't weigh much, so if they would sell her to the meat industry, they wouldn't get a penny. So at 14 months old, she came here and she couldn't see, but there is something called that you can't see anything because you had trauma. And in the dairy farm, they are all traumatized because they are being separated from the mom, and they hear the moms and they're crying.
Okay, now we move on to dairy. Dairy, milk. You know, milk, cheese, that stuff that they put in everything. They put over everything, yogurt, ice cream. Let's think for a second what milk is, because I never thought about this. So, I never thought that cows have to be pregnant to produce milk. They have to either be pregnant or have had a child to produce milk, just like us. I thought, this is going to sound pretty silly, but some people might think the same thing. I thought cows just produced milk by themselves. I thought that's what they were here for. They just produced milk. No, there's a process. There is a process. after her child is born, within 1 to 3 days, her child is stolen from her. Across the board, every dairy farm. You take me right now to the most humane dairy farm in Israel. You think green grass, and they take all of their children off of these cows.
All right, so in here we have the 2 calves here, and they've been taken from their mothers over here, put in this crate. They'll be wheeled out somewhere. They'll be taken to isolation, and they'll be separated. Over here you can hear the mothers bellowing out for their children. It's very sad. Very sad. Look at their little faces. Still wet. They're still wet. They're only newborns.
The cow will bellow out for days. It's called pining. They pine out for their child. And their children are only sometimes 50 meters away, very close. And they can hear each other screaming for each other.
And they connect to the story, to the mother.
Yeah.
That they take her child.
Yeah.
And she's crying and yelling,
yeah.
Where's my child? And we see, after we're gonna see the little babies, they are alone on the metal cages.
Yeah.
And a lot of them dies. Also, 10% in Israel dies on the cages,
wow.
on the little babies.
Wow.
Because they don't have their mother milk.
Yeah.
They don't have the good care.
Okay, so behind us here we have the solitary confinement for the baby calves, bobby calves that are taken from their mothers. They're all pining out. The mothers over there are pining for the babies are pining back for their mothers. Now, these little prison cells are so small that they can hardly turn around in there. So if you think of a prison, the cells, you can walk around, you can come down off the bunk, you can go to your toilet. These little calves, little babies, are in these little cages, small. They need their mother at this time. They're supposed to be suckling from their mother. And this is how they're treated, this is how they're kept. All dairy farms across the board, not just in Israel, all dairy farms take children away from mothers, just so we can take the milk that was meant for them. If you look at these little angels, they look like little puppy dogs, little scared, innocent eyes, kept in prisons so we can have a piece of cheese. See, and people like to talk about injustice, injustice over here, injustice to humans over here. Look at this. This is injustice. Innocent children kept in cages away from their mothers. They'll all be killed. Eventually they'll all be killed. For nothing, for no good reason. No good reason.
A lot of people become vegan because they said it's gross, first of all, because they're shitting on themselves.
Yeah.
They look terrible.
Yeah.
And they don't want to take part of this.
No.
It's terrible.
It's like, it's the closest thing to slavery I've seen,
Slavery. Yeah, of course it's slavery.
Yeah. The conditions in here look pretty horrific, but do you think there's a humane way to do this?
It's funny joke.
It's a joke, isn't it?
Funny, human rape, human slaughter. There is no thing like this. People drive in the roads of Israel and see the animals on the side of the, free, free, but they don't really free. But still, it's just 1% from all the animals in the industry. Most of the 99% on these farms. It's very crowded, a lot of shit, a lot of disease, and a lot of suffering.
A very, very sad place in a dairy farm. If anyone here has been in a dairy farm, you know what I mean. Horrible place, full of sadness, full of sadness.
Yeah, so you can understand how easily they get these mastitis infections on the udder when they're always laying in their own feces, and they're getting milked with, crap all over their teat and their udder, and this is going into the milk, it's getting sucked out with the pus, and it's a disgusting place. Like dairy products, I couldn't think of anything more disgusting.
Oh my god, oh my god.
A woman records what appears to be a live cow being pushed by a bulldozer.
And that bulldozer?
Yes, he's alive.
She was filming from public land. The farm owner drove up and confronted her.
You cannot videotape my property from public property.
Why are you concerned about being filmed if you have no problem, you think this is a legitimate business?
It is a legitimate business.
Utah prosecutors charged the woman with agricultural operation interference.
Am I free to leave or am I being detained?
You're being detained.
But she was on public land. They dropped the charges several months later. But what if she'd sneaked onto a farm to record what she considered animal abuse? More than 100 such investigations have been done. Activists pose as farm workers and secretly record the way animals are treated.
An animal rights group released this undercover video of the dairy farm. It shows workers hitting, kicking, and throwing young calves. We are not showing the most disturbing parts of the video.
Farmers upset about these recordings are persuading politicians to
essentially outlaw these undercover investigations.
The controversial ag gag law.
The sixth state to pass an ag gag law.
There are activists stalking farms to try to capture something that the public doesn't understand.
Kay Johnson Smith speaks for a farm group that supports the ag gag laws, though they don't call them that.
We would call it farm protection. Farm protection.
What about everybody else? Why do you get special protection?
The agricultural community is the only business community that this sort of tactic is really being used on right now.
I'm an investigative reporter. I can't do my job if there are laws that prevent me from showing things. Nobody believes it if you don't see it.
These activist groups want to eliminate all of animal agriculture.
Brittany, you're holding a dead body.
This group live streams its protests on Facebook.
You saw a dumpster with hundreds of dead birds?
Many of the activists stormed into the farm. Some stole some of the baby ducklings.
We were just able to rescue almost 30 baby ducks.
Others chained themselves to the entrance of the farm.
Later, the activists released this video of the 30 stolen ducklings, adding music and showing the birds running around, apparently happy. They stole those ducks after seeing this earlier undercover video of injured ducks at the farm.
Mercy for Animals says their undercover investigations have led to criminal charges.
Ag gag laws often prevent such investigations, which is why farm states pass them.
A bill making it illegal to apply for a job in a farming operation under false pretenses.
But what about free speech?
Ag gag laws chill speech.
Lawyer Amanda Howell speaks for the Animal Legal Defense Fund, a group that says ag gag laws are unconstitutional. And they did get several states' laws struck down. Iowa then just passed a new law.
Ag Gag 2.0, a bipartisan bill trying again to stop people from lying to get onto farms.
These groups are exposing issues that are happening.
If they really cared about animals, they would stop it right then. Instead, they go weeks and months without reporting anything to the farm owners.
That's true. This investigation went on for months. Agricultural groups are now pushing laws that would force activists to report abuse quickly. Why don't they?
They want to make their movie. They want to make their sensational video.
It's because they care about the animals that they want to show that that's something that happens every day on these farms.
Consistent, constant abuse.
A company can say, this is a one-off. This is not just discrete actors. This is company policy.
They say they don't want to just correct the abuse on that farm. They want to change all farming practices.
What they really want is to stop people from eating meat, milk, and eggs.
Do you want people to stop eating meat?
I want people to act in their conscience.
But you didn't really answer the question. Do you want people to stop eating meat or eggs?
I think that, again, Are we asking me personally, or are you asking the Animal Legal Defense Fund?
She never did give a direct answer.
Workers at the turkey farm abusing the birds.
Animal rights activists have exposed things that need exposing.
Walmart now taking a stand when it comes to the treatment of farm-raised animals.
How else would you have made these changes without sneaking into your farms?
Well, that's to say that farmers can't be trusted, and I think that
Apparently in the past, some could not.
There are bad apples in every industry. However, I would say 99.9% of farmers in America, they do the right thing every single day. Farming isn't always pretty.
People have some right to privacy, no?
I think we should all be worried when corporations are supporting laws that impinge our right to free speech.
We should worry. Whatever you think of the activists, and I have problems with many of them, government shouldn't pass special laws that prevent people from revealing what's true.
In our 10 years of being undercover, we have never seen such consistent, constant abuse to a newborn baby animal. Fair Oaks Farm is the largest dairy in the United States. They have created a joint venture with the Coca-Cola Corporation. The difference between Fair Oaks Farm's dairy adventure and the reality of the dairy industry is night and day. Everything is a lie. The only training that our investigator was trained on at Fair Oaks Farms was make sure you take the back road when you have dead calves in your transport. The illegal narcotics use was widespread and very apparent at Fair Oaks Farms and the Fairlife Corporation. How do we fix the animal abuse at Fair Oaks Farms? I can tell you from a seasoned investigator, you shut it down. The calf abuse is by far the worst baby abuse that we've seen ever undercover in any investigation anywhere in the world. Nothing is worse than Fair Oaks Farms. This isn't one or two bad apples. This is everyone at Fair Oaks Farm that we had contact with. The newborn babies that are so incredibly brutalized, not once a day, not twice a day, all day long. The calves being ripped from their mother, entering the hutches, and being left in extreme temperatures, dying from those extreme temperatures. Mothers are calling for their calves so intensely that they're losing their voice. Fair Oaks Farms and the Fairlife Corporation have stated in writing that they do not send their calves to veal. Many, many times this has been put in writing, which is why the Animal Recovery Mission followed the male calf transports. We didn't know where they were going. Midwest veal. We couldn't believe it. The dairy industry has stated that they have done away with all veal crates, that calves are now raised in groups. They're doing nothing but deceiving the public. As an animal cruelty expert, I didn't even see the correlation between the dairy industry and the veal industry until Operation Fair Oaks Farms. We're going to demand that Coca-Cola end their partnership with Fair Oaks Farms, the Fairlife Corporation. If Coca-Cola stands behind its words that animal cruelty is everything to them, well, the only way to combat animal cruelty in the dairy industry is for Coca-Cola to take a step aside, to cut their losses, and get out of the dairy industry themselves. Coca-Cola and the dairy industry live and survive on people that purchase their products. That is it. It's simple. Stop buying the products. Stop buying dairy. If you want to make a difference, go to animalrecoverymission.org, our website. Go and create waves throughout the internet. Go and picket in front of the Fairlife Corporation. Picket in front of the Coca-Cola Corporation. Make your voice heard. Fair Oaks Farm and Fairlife Corporation need to be stopped.
Well, contrary to the message that we've been given from a very young age, cow's milk is not a guarantee of protection from bone fracture. And when you look around the world at the epidemiology, it becomes really clear that in fact it's the populations where the most milk and the most calcium is consumed that we see the highest risk of fracture. And in Whitewash, I explain in detail why that is, but also how we can change our risk and very specific lifestyle strategies that every one of us can take to reduce our risk and increase bone density and minimize the chance that we'll ever suffer a bone fracture in our life. I think for the average person it can be challenging initially to accept the idea that something they've taken for granted, that almost has taken a place of being sacred, in our culture, may not actually produce the results that they've been promised, meaning, protect them from bone fracture. But I have found that almost invariably when people see the science, when they see the overwhelming evidence that cow's milk is loaded with toxins that are very dangerous, environmental contaminants, and actually powerful growth hormones and such that may elevate our risk for disease, that they become convinced that this really is not something that we should be consuming. It's always surprising to people to learn that when you look around the world, it's actually the very countries that are consuming the most milk and consuming the most calcium in their diet who have the highest risk of developing a bone fracture. So that would be like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, North America, the Western European nations. That's where we see all the bone disease. But the inverse is so as well. So populations in China, Japan, Thailand, Vietnam, people don't have milk mustaches. They're not obsessing over how much calcium they're eating. They eat very little dairy in general. That's where we see the greatest protection, the lowest risk of suffering a bone fracture. And men and women in their 7th and 8th decade of life have strong, robust bones. They're out, they're active, they're moving around, they're lifting up their grandchildren, they're working in fields and enjoying a healthy life. The relationship between just saturated fat consumption and risk of heart disease, hypertension, various cancers and such, cholesterol, chemical contaminants in milk, all of these things have relationships and contribute to risk of a variety of conditions, whether it be neurological disease such as Parkinson's disease or prostate cancer, breast cancer, coronary artery disease. So when one looks at the totality of what they're being exposed to, whether it be the contaminants or whether it be the bovine growth hormone that's causing the IGF-1 levels to rise, the estrogen that is substantially elevated in these pregnant cows and then expressed in the milk, all of these things are contributing to our total risk of a variety of different health problems. Well, with cheese, we take a lot of the water out, so we concentrate the fat, and many of the chemical contaminants that we're concerned about that are showing up in milk, they bind with fat, and that's where they're kind of sequestered. So if you concentrate more fat, you're going to concentrate more of these toxic chemicals that we're concerned about exposure to. So that could be an issue with cheese as well. There's absolutely no evidence to support the claim that drinking the milk of a cow is going to protect us from future bone fracture. And in fact, the overwhelming evidence that we have in the scientific literature today says just the opposite, that those who drink it and drink it regularly are at most risk for disease. The reality is that we don't need the milk of a cow or any other mammal. We simply need to eat a healthful diet that's centered around plants that support bone health, and we have to make sure that we use our bodies, we use our bones, we stimulate them through regular exercise and build and develop and maintain muscle tone, because that keeps us stable and less likely to fall. Of course, we know that falls precipitate fracture in most instances. So the focus really for everyone is to leave the milk myth aside and begin to embrace a healthful diet that's plant strong and that is not loaded up with caffeine and refined sugars and refined flours and the kinds of foods that unfortunately prevail in the Western diet.
They claim milk does a body good, but find out why some brands may be doing more harm than good.
Up next, got milk? You may wish you didn't after tonight's Hard Target investigation exposes what's really in some of it.
Milk is loaded with powerful growth hormones, hormones that should never be in the human body.
Imagine a cow on crack cocaine. That's how author Robert Cohen describes something shot into millions of cows on American farms.
We genetically engineer a hormone that produces more milk when we didn't need more milk.
While Cohen admits calcium is good for you, he says leafy green vegetables have lots more calcium than milk.
If you look at nature's perfect food, human breast milk, there are 33 milligrams of calcium per 100-gram portion. Potato chips have 40, beans have 50, chickpeas 150, amaranth, a grain, has 267.
Cohen says dairy products are a poor source of calcium for another reason.
Every scientist in the world knows that protein inhibits calcium absorption, and milk is liquid meat. It's protein.
What is in milk that you say is poisonous, and why would the government be covering this up?
Well, what's in milk? You're drinking body fluids from other animals. 60% of the cows in America have leukemia virus. 80% have something called paratuberculosis. You don't want to eat something with that name, paratuberculosis. You've got irritable bowel syndrome in America. That's what it causes. 4 million American women have irritable bowel syndrome. You're talking about if your doctor said, I want you to eat today 53 slices of bacon because that cholesterol is good for you, you're eating from your dairy products the same cholesterol contained in 19,000 slices of bacon this year. By age 52, 1 million slices of bacon's worth of cholesterol. You don't want that in your body.
The real concern, though, you talk about the bovine growth hormone.
Hormone is the big word here. There are 4,000 mammals. There are 500,000 different hormones. Only one hormone, this is the big secret the dairy industry doesn't want you to know, only one hormone is identical in all of nature between two animals. It's human and cow. It's the most powerful growth hormone in our body. Drink a 12-ounce glass of milk. Double the only hormone that makes breast cancer grow once you get it.
I just assume it's milk. No, I don't. What's in the milk I'm drinking? What's in it?
If you ask the author of this controversial new book, you may not want to hear the answer.
The milk we're drinking is filled with fat. We know that. Cholesterol. We don't know it's filled with virus, bacteria, powerful growth hormones, proteins that cause a vast array of allergies in the human body. This is not nature's perfect food.
In a book called Milk, the Deadly Poison, Robert Cohen attacks what's long been considered the perfect food, claiming it can be a dangerous brew of chemical, biological, and bacterial agents that may also contain a growth hormone he believes can trigger the growth of cancer.
We know children come into puberty earlier in America. We don't know why. Every sip of milk, they're drinking, in addition to this most powerful growth hormone, 59 different bioactive hormones. What nations have the highest rates of breast cancer in the world? I ask people, they say, United States. Denmark, Norway, Holland, and Sweden. What nations have the highest rates of osteoporosis, crippling bone disease? Denmark, Norway, Holland, and Sweden. The dairy industry, every dairy farmer, and there are probably a few in the audience now, you know that for every 100 pounds of milk you produce, you got to pay 15 cents to the national fluid milk processors. Doesn't sound like a lot of money. What are they doing with that money? It's $500 million a year to paint milk mustaches on the lips of models.
Robert, welcome to Your Health.
Nice to be here.
Mother says milk is good. What is this? Milk is no good.
Let me tell you about milk. The #1 protein in milk is casein, C-A-S-E-I-N. That's 80% of the protein in milk. That's the same glue they use to put a label on a bottle of beer. That's the same glue they use to hold your wooden furniture together.
So we're drinking glue.
You're drinking glue, and you create so much mucus. This much casein, this much mucus.
Okay, we're getting technical. You're using a lot of chemicals.
Yeah.
What qualifies you to talk about these?
Well, the greatest controversy in the history of the Food and Drug Administration was the genetic engineering of milk. I'm the only person in America to be invited to meet with a group of top scientists at FDA. I used to do research, $50 word, psychoneuroendocrinology, the study of brain and behavior, how hormones affect behavior. And I uncovered secrets. I opened up a Pandora's box of secrets that the dairy industry wishes had never been opened.
If milk is so bad, then how come everybody else is so wrong and so brainwashed that it's good for you?
Well, they get Calcium Ripken to pose for his milk mustache. Spike Lee, you got 500,000 kids in the New York area that have asthma. They're drinking this glue every day. Spike Lee, 95% of African Americans are lactose intolerant. How could he wear this milk mustache? This is a message. Money is spent by the dairy industry. If you're a doctor, you call their toll-free number, 800-WHY-MILK. They'll send you $200 worth of free information. You call my toll-free number, 888-NOT-MILK. You'll get the truth. We're getting the message out as one voice to America. Milk does not do the body good.
So, got milk? No.
Not milk.
Between 1940 and 1971, the synthetic estrogen DES was prescribed to several million pregnant women with the promise that it would help prevent miscarriages. Problems were first highlighted in 1953 when it became clear that not only was DES ineffective, might actually be harmful. However, a powerful and emotive advertising campaign ensured that its use continued until 1971, when it was found to cause cancer of the vagina in the daughters of the mothers who took it. DES was also used to stunt the growth of girls who were predicted to grow abnormally tall. As one pediatric textbook put it in 1968, excessive tallness in girls can be a handicap. It provides difficulty in purchase of smart clothes. The victim is ineligible for certain sought-after professional positions, such as airline hostess, and poses problems in selecting suitable dancing partners. But most people don't know that the greatest usage of DES was by the livestock industry, improving feed conversion in cattle and chickens. Within a year of approval, it was fed to millions of farm animals, and although it was shown to be a human carcinogen in 1971, it was not until 1979 that all use of DES in the meat industry was banned. Now they just use different synthetic estrogen implants, but even now, decades after DES was banned, we're still seeing the effects, an elevation of birth defects even down into the third generation. Arsenic is another human carcinogen that was fed to chickens, this time by the billions. The arsenic ends up not only in the meat, as I talked about previously, but also in the feathers, which are fed back to the animals. See, a third of the bird is inedible. What do they do with billions of pounds of heads, bones, guts, and feathers? Fertilizer and animal feed. Feather meal is fed back to chickens, pigs, cows, sheep, and fish. Now, straight feathers not particularly nutritious, so guts, heads, and feet may be added for a little extra protein, and manure added to the feed for minerals. The problem is that feather meal used as animal feed could contribute to additional arsenic exposure in persons who consume meat. This gave researchers an idea, though. By testing feather meal, they might be able to find out what else chickens are fed. Feather meal, a previously unrecognized route for re-entry into the food supply of multiple pharmaceuticals and personal care products. All samples tested positive for antibiotic-type drugs, between 2 to 10 different kinds in each sample, including fluoroquinolones, which have been banned for years. So either the poultry industry is illegally still using the stuff, or it's being used in some other animals fed to the chickens. Regardless, when the feather meal is fed back to the chickens, they are getting exposed to this drug, which is against the law to feed to chickens, creating a cycle of re-exposure to banned drugs. Then it just gets weirder. The feathers turned up with half a dozen other drugs: Prozac, antihistamine, fungicide, a sex hormone, and caffeine. Why doesn't the poultry industry just say no? Evidently, the antihistamines are to combat the respiratory problems from packing in so many tens of thousands into the confinement sheds, and the caffeine helps keep the chickens awake so that they eat more and grow faster. Most future medical professionals surveyed were insufficiently aware, in fact 2/3 had no clue, of the risks related to prolonged high dietary phosphate intake. And even if they knew it was a problem, they don't know which foods have had it added. 99% knew sugar was added to soda, but only 7% knew that phosphates were added. I bet even fewer would know they inject it into most packages of meat. Though this practice remains banned in Europe, thanks to a 1982 ruling, 11 different phosphate salts are allowed to be injected into meat and poultry in the United States, despite the fact that poultry is considered an arterial toxin, causing our arteries to stiffen up within just 2 hours of consumption, making modern poultry not only more dangerous from a heart disease standpoint, but may also be making poultry more dangerous from a food safety standpoint. What are the effects of phosphate additives on the survival of our #1 cause of bacterial food poisoning, Campylobacter, in chicken exudates? Chicken exudate is the same as poultry purge, the chicken juice. It's the fluid that seeps out from processed poultry carcasses and often found to be contaminated with considerable numbers of Campylobacter bacteria. It is comprised of water, blood, fats, and other materials added to the poultry during processing. If you don't inject chicken with phosphates, the exudates seeping into the package may grow about 100 Campylobacter bacteria. This is a log scale. You add some phosphate, and you're up to 100 million bacteria, 1,000,000 times more. The addition of phosphates to chicken has the potential to increase the survival of Campylobacter by 100-fold or more. The infectious dose for Campylobacter has been shown to be as little as 500 organisms. How much might there be in chicken? 100,000 can be easily recovered from washes of whole chicken carcasses. So what does 1,000,000 times more food poisoning bacteria mean for the risk to consumers? Well, even just a 100-fold increase in these fecal matter bacteria can mean a 30-fold difference in the number of human outbreaks of Campylobacter, a foodborne disease that can leave people paralyzed. But hey, if the poultry industry doesn't add phosphates, how are they going to enhance the moisture absorbance, color, and flavor, and reduce product shrinkage? What are they eating in New York? I bet it's more than just Big Apples. You may remember me covering this study a few years ago, which showed that the primary source of flame-retardant chemicals in the American diet, with the exception of infants who get all the pollution straight from their moms, is meat, fish, dairy, and eggs. But which kind of meat is the worst? We didn't know until recently. We know that fish is the worst, and this was for halibut, which is actually one of the least contaminated. But in terms of other meats, second only to fish in terms of contamination, poultry, then pork, then beef. What's this one here, though, between chicken and fish? Turkey. So bottom line, white meat more contaminated with flame-retardant chemical pollutants than red, though the highest concentrations are actually found in dogs' and cats' food. What about polychlorinated naphthalenes? Until this study was published, information on the occurrence of these toxicologically significant industrial pollutants in food or on human exposure was sparse. PCNs are chlorinated polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, a potentially vast group of little-known environmental contaminants of human origin whose chemical structure can bestow a dioxin-like mode of toxic action. Say no more. Though banned in many countries, which aisle might we still find the most in the grocery store? The bread shelves? The dairy case? Would it be in the deli? The egg section? Fish counter? Or would it be in the produce department? The worst was fish, with the worst of the worst, farmed salmon, followed closely by organic salmon. Then comes poultry and eggs. Let's zoom in a bit here. Red meat has less, the worst being lamb. Then comes dairy, and at the bottom of the food chain, vegetables, fruit, and bread. So about 10 times less than meat, dairy, eggs, and about 100 times safer than fish, which gives us an idea of the route we may want to take through the supermarket. Speaking of toxic metallic elements, there continues to be growing concern about aluminum exposure and the development of neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's. But how are we exposed to aluminum? This is how much we get cooking acidic foods like tomato sauce in an aluminum pot for an hour. Aluminum is also added to childhood vaccines as an immune irritant to improve efficacy, but it's come under fire from some parenting groups. This is how much you get smoking a pack of cigarettes and this is how much you get if you use aluminum-containing antiperspirants. But researchers just found a food item that blows these other sources away. What do you think it is? Is it Brussels sprouts? Many of you wish it were Brussels sprouts. Cheese, chicken, eggs, fish, or shellfish. The highest natural levels of aluminum are found in shellfish, but the highest levels overall is in cheese. Why? Just like the poultry industry adds arsenic to chicken, the dairy industry adds aluminum to cheese, the #1 source of aluminum in the diet. Why would they do that? The aluminum salts produce a smooth, uniform film around each fat droplet to prevent something called fat bleeding, and to give the cheese a softer texture and desirable slicing properties. So if you're a parent worrying about the aluminum in vaccines, every grilled cheese sandwich you give to your kids is like injecting them with a dozen aluminum-containing vaccines. There have been dozens of these risk-benefit analyses lately, looking at the nutrient and contaminant trade-offs for fish. Now, fish consumption provides nutrients, but all fish also provides methylmercury, a known neurotoxin. The more fish we eat, the more omega-3s we get, but the more fish we eat, the more mercury we get too. Mercury is a cardiac toxin as well, so while fish omega-3s are decreasing our risk of a heart attack, the mercury in that same fish is increasing our risk of having a heart attack. So studies like this look through the various species. Salmon has less mercury than tuna, but tuna has less dioxin. As I mentioned last year, the only truly healthy fish in the world would be one made out of dark green leafy veggies. Once upon a time, routine childhood vaccinations used a mercury-containing preservative called thimerosal. I was always surprised by parents who fed their kids tuna, yet didn't want vaccinations because they didn't want to expose their children to mercury. Well, eating a single serving of tuna, which is about half a can, is equivalent to getting injected with how many thimerosal-containing vaccines? 100. A single serving of canned tuna. Sure, dietary exposure to mercury may harm child development, but if we cut down on fish, the argument goes, we may get fewer omega-3s. So these researchers get out their calculators, and in a city about the size of New York, if pregnant mothers ate lots of fish, because omega-3s like DHA are so beneficial to brain development, we would expect to see an improvement in 209,000 years of children's lives, what are called quality-adjusted life years. But at the same time, the mercury in that very same fish would damage 203,000 of children's life years. So, they do the math, it comes out positive by a hair, and we hear on the news such and such medical authority says the benefits outweigh the risks, eat fish. Now, of course, this does not take into account the dioxins and PCBs, which tip the scale the other way, but more importantly, why accept any risk at all? By getting DHA from plant sources, we can get all the benefit with none of the risks, all the benefit without the hundreds of thousands of life years of brain damage. This isn't unlike the dairy and calcium thing. Every time they come out with yet another study linking dairy consumption with something bad, cancer, Parkinson's, they get out of saying, stop drinking milk, by ending the article with something like, but one has to balance the risk of cancer, diabetes, or whatever, with the risk of not getting enough calcium. as if the only source of calcium on the planet were dairy. Where do you think the cows get it from in the first place? Plants. And the same thing with omega-3s like DHA. Where do you think the fish get it from? Plants. And we can too. Tiny little plants called golden algae. In my video treating kidney failure through diet, I profiled research suggesting that the use of plant-based diets may be helpful for patients with kidney failure, because control of dietary phosphorus intake is the linchpin in the successful control of a leading cause of disease and death in kidney failure patients, too much phosphorus in the blood. But now we're beginning to realize that absorbing too much phosphorus isn't good for anyone. Having high levels in our blood has been found to be an independent predictor of heart attacks and mortality in the general population, increasing the risk of not only kidney failure, but heart failure, heart attacks, coronary death, and overall death. Higher phosphate levels associated with a significantly shorter lifespan. Dietary intake of phosphate is an important matter not just for persons with kidney disease, but for everybody. It's thought to cause damage to blood vessels and accelerate the aging process, even potentially hurting our bones, contributing to osteoporosis by disrupting hormonal regulation. The estimated average requirement of phosphorus is less than 600 a day, but the estimated average intake is nearly twice that in the United States. How do we stay away from the stuff? Well, if you look at nutrient tables, it looks like many plant foods have as much phosphorus as many animal foods. So why are plant-based diets so effective in treating kidney failure patients? Because most of the phosphorus in plant foods is found in the form of phytic acid, which we don't digest, so the bioavailability of plant phosphates is usually less than 50%. See, only a third to a half of plant phosphorus may be absorbable, whereas most animal products are all up around 75%. So when you adjust for how much actually gets into our system, you see plant foods are better. It's like the absorption of heme and non-heme iron. Our body can protect itself from absorbing too much plant-based iron, but can't stop excess blood-based or heme iron from animals slipping through the intestinal wall. The worst kind of phosphorus, absorbed nearly 100%, are phosphate additives, added, for example, to cola drinks. Why would they do that? Otherwise, cola drinks would be black. Without the added phosphate, there would be so many glycotoxins produced that the beverage would turn pitch black. Thus, cola drinks owe their brown color to phosphate. Phosphate additives play an especially important role in the meat industry, where they're used as preservatives for the same reason, to enhance a meat product's color, just like the dairy industry adds aluminum to cheese. Meat and poultry is enhanced, quote-unquote, by injecting it with phosphates. If you look at meat industry trade journals and can get past all the macabre ads for head-dropping robots for the kill floor and foot chopper offers, you'll see all these ads for injection machines. Why? Because of increased profitability. Enhanced meats have better color and less purge. Purge is a term used to describe the liquid that seeps from flesh as it ages. Many consumers find this unattractive, and so the industry views it as a win-win. When you inject chicken with phosphates, the consumer benefits through the perception of enhanced quality, and the processor benefits from increased yield, because they just pumped it up with water and they sell it by the pound. The reason is that it can boost phosphorus. The problem, is that it can boost phosphorus levels in meat nearly 70%, a real and insidious danger for kidney patients. But now we know it's a danger for all. Some hormones we do implant in farm animals, though. Last year, Japanese researchers were lamenting the dramatic increase in hormone-dependent cancers in their country, 4 times more breast and ovarian cancer, 8 times more endometrial cancer, and 10 times more prostate cancer just in the last 25 years. They suspect it might be because they import so much hormone-laden beef from the United States. But just because we implant cattle with hormones doesn't mean it actually makes it into the meat. We inject these hormone implants into the ears of cattle, but the ears get chopped off at slaughter. So the U.S. beef industry argues that the hormones don't get into the meat. But these researchers were suspicious, so they compared the hormone levels in American beef to Japanese beef, where they don't commonly inject cattle with hormones. They found up to 600 times the level of estrogens in American beef. So they got the feeling that the increase in consumption of estrogen-rich beef following steroid implantation might facilitate estrogen accumulation in the human body, and could be related to the incidence of hormone-dependent cancers, although further studies are required. For example, eggs may be the greatest source of estrogens in a person's normal diet. Why would estrogen-rich beef lead to prostate cancer? You think of that more related to male hormones like testosterone. We inject cattle with that too. Just like athletes can use doping agents in sports to build up their muscles, in the livestock industry, anabolic steroids are given to cattle to beef up their muscles. We don't just give estrogens, we implant anabolic male steroids with brand names like Magnoid, Steroid, some of which contain androgens like testosterone. Where are these hormones found the most? Researchers in Iran last year compared the levels of testosterone in the meat, liver, and testicles of sheep. What did they find? Interestingly, though testicles produce testosterone, they don't store it, and so it builds up elsewhere in the body. In fact, the levels of anabolic steroids in meat can be so high that studies have shown that athletes who eat certain kinds of meat can be falsely accused of abusing steroids. As with dairy, eating meat may also affect prepubescent children, boosting their production of male sex hormones in both boys and girls, which may hasten the first appearance of pubic hair between ages 6 and 8. Even though the effect was small, the fact that it's a modifiable factor, something you can change about your child's diet, makes it potentially relevant.
You know, there's a toxin found in some drinking water that scientists have not completely been upfront about. What is this toxin? It's a chemical. It's found in Teflon, right? The stuff that's supposed to be able to make nothing stick to it, right? It's believed to be in our water now at a rate 700 times higher than the federal guidelines. Here tonight is RT correspondent Natasha Sweet.
According to a leading toxicologist, a Teflon toxin found in some drinking waters need to be 700 times lower than what the Environmental Protection Agency is recommending. This toxin is known by its acronym PFOA. The manufactured chemical makes it into our drinking water and some foods because it's used in stain-resistant carpets, fabrics, nonstick cookware, and other products. The new data suggests the threshold for PFOA in drinking water should be as low as 0.1 parts per trillion. Linda Birnbaum, director for the National Institute for Environmental Health Sciences, unleashed this bombshell at a conference at Northeastern University. She says that's a whopping 700 times less than the current EPA guidelines. Previous research has also linked PFOA to kidney and testicular cancer. The recent studies are now linking pancreatic cancer to PFOA exposure. The research was conducted by the National Toxicology Program. In this study, male rats given doses of PFOA developed both cancerous and non-cancerous tumors in the pancreas. At the lowest of 3 levels in the experiment, 20 out of 50 rats developed the tumors. The 2-year study also revealed liver tumors. Birnbaum says PFAS, also found in Teflon, affected breast development, issuing problems with lactation and growth of the mammary gland. But according to the American Cancer Society, Teflon nor PFOA is listed as causing cancer. It only mentions the possibility. Now, there's been some controversy over some studies being conducted in this area, not yet being published. Some researchers are maintaining that more studies need to be done in this area, and some states like California, New Jersey, and Vermont are taking matters into their own hands, already upping their standards, advising for less PFOA in the water. In Los Angeles, Natasha Sweet, RT.
Welcome back to the news on RT America. Well, a decade ago, chemical giant DuPont found itself on the receiving end of a class action lawsuit in West Virginia concerning one of the chemicals it produced, C8. It was proved to carry grave health risks to humans, so the company ended up paying millions of dollars in fines and was forced to withdraw the chemical from production. However, it replaced C8 with a different chemical, Gen X, touted to be safer. It has now been revealed that even DuPont scientists have held tests suggesting otherwise, but dismissed their findings altogether. RT's Alexei Orshevsky explains.
In 2009, having lost a massive class action lawsuit in West Virginia, the DuPont Chemical Company introduced a substitute for the much maligned PFOA chemicals. Also known as C8, a key ingredient in Teflon, the PFOAs were proved to cause a number of health hazards, including cancer. The new chemical, called Gen X, was touted to have a more favorable toxicological profile than its predecessor. However, between 2006 and 2013, the company itself had filed 16 reports of substantial risk of injury to health or the environment. These reports have now been revealed through an investigation by The Intercept magazine. They cite numerous health effects in animals, including changes in the size and weight of animals' livers and kidneys, alterations to their immune responses and cholesterol levels, weight gain, reproductive problems, and cancer. An experiment with Gen X held by Science Direct and funded by DuPont showed that rats, which were given various amounts of Gen X over 2 years, developed liver, pancreas, and testicle cancer, as well as kidney disease, liver degeneration, and other diseases. Other independent studies showed Gen X also impacted reproductive functions. But here is the shocker. The DuPont senior research toxicologist, Mr. Anand, who signed the 2013 report, concluded that these tumor findings are not considered relevant for human risk assessment. In other, simpler words, he dismissed the results by saying the tumor formation in rats might not be the same in humans. It might have received a pass, but here is the problem. For almost half a century, the DuPont scientists had made the very same claim about C8. Numerous tests of C8 caused testicular tumors in DuPont-funded experiments on lab animals, but it was never linked to same effects on people until certainly proved otherwise during the West Virginia lawsuit. And it was not the first time either. DuPont have been acknowledging potential health risks for years, however, quashing any concerns in dismissive reports later. In the 1970s, they chose not to report abnormal liver test results in workers exposed to C8, and 34 years later, the company's medical director said those findings were not reported because the liver changes were not proven to be caused by the chemical. People do not cook on Teflon and drop dead. That is the notion coming from the company. And while many scientists have been raising concerns, the EPA said it did not require any further testing of the new chemical, something it is obliged to do if there are any indications a chemical could pose threat to humans. At this moment, Gen X is neither regulated nor tracked, just like at least 1,000 other chemicals not falling under the 40-year-old Toxic Substances Control Act. And with DuPont themselves admitting biodegeneration of Gen X amounts to 0%, it is likely to be with us forever. Just like the C8, it was destined to replace and still found in drinking water nationwide.
Had between 30 and 40 surgeries in my lifetime due to the birth deformities I was dealt with. A keyhole pupil, serrated eyelid, and I was only born with one nostril. I've had some major reconstructive surgery to bring me where I am today, with both rib cartilages taken, metal plate in my nose. I just thought it was, oh, I got dealt a bad hand. It really just kind of blew my mind and had me in shock for a while. And I got out of that. I grew up as a teenager, have a lovely wife, and my battle changed to, well, I pass this on to my children, because I know the battles that I face, and I would never, ever want to put that knowingly on anyone. I would say I am angry and frustrated. I'm shocked that this great company that is held in such high regard by cities and a nation almost, I mean, around the world maybe, that it's not a priority for them. It's not a priority to get this right and make it right.
इंजेक्शन लगाने से कद्दू बड़ा हो जाएगा।
अच्छा, कद्दू बहुत छोटा है, कद्दू है?
कद्दू है। अच्छा,
बैगन लग रहा है?
नहीं, कद्दू है।
अच्छा,
इंजेक्शन लगाने से ये कद्दू 24 घंटे में करीब करीब 2 किलो का 2.5 किलो का हो जाएगा।
24 घंटे में 2.5 किलो का हो जाएगा?
और क्या,
बहुत
जल्दी बढ़ता है।
और वैसे कितने दिन में होता है भैया?
वो इधर तो 1 हफ्ता लगेगा।
अच्छा, फिर 1 हफ्ता लगता है? क्यों लगाते हैं इंजेक्शन ये सब सब्जियों में?
एक पैदावार बढ़ाने की वजह से, क्योंकि फसल में कमी ना वो कमजोर ना होने पावे।
अच्छा।
और फसल जल्दी तैयार हो।
तो आप लोगों को ये नहीं पता है कि ये जो काम है ये ठीक नहीं है, सही नहीं है?
मालूम तो है,
हाँ।
मजबूरी बस करना पड़ता है।
तो क्यों ऐसा करते हैं, आपको पता नहीं कि खतरनाक है ये, लोगों की जान से
है तो खतरनाक, पैदावार कम पड़ती, लागत ज़्यादा लगती है।
तो ये आप क्या कितने इंजेक्शन का उपयोग करते हैं?
करीब करीब 70-75 इंजेक्शन का यूज करते हैं।
अच्छा, तो कैसे आप ही लगाते हैं कि और भी गांव में सब लोग यूज़ कर रहे हैं?
ज़्यादातर लोग लगाते हैं गांव में।
अच्छा, क्यों, मतलब क्यों लगा रहे हैं आप लोग ये?
क्योंकि उपज जल्दी तैयार हो, फसल जल्दी तैयार हो।
எது போகாக்காதகாய் எதுக்கு கேளு இதெல்லாம் தானா படுத்துக்கிறீங்க அதை எப்படி தானா படுக்கிறதுக்கு எதுக்கு கண்ணடிக்கிறீங்க தானா படுக்கிறதுக்கு எதுக்கு கண்ணடிக்கிறீங்க அடிக்கலாமா விடுங்க அரகுறிச்சிலிருந்து வர்றாங்க அரகுறிச்சிலிருந்து எல்லாத்துக்கும் என்ன பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காங்க
Here coming at you. I want to talk to you today about bisphenol A. It's an organic compound with a chemical formula. Belongs to the group of diphenylmethane derivatives, and BPA is used to make certain plastics and epoxy resins. It has been in the commercial use since 1957. BPA-based plastic is clear and tough. They use this in water bottles, baby bottles, plastic liners inside of cans that we get our food from. We have been being poisoned by this stuff since 1957. This is some bad stuff, people. Some bad stuff. BPA exhibits hormone-like properties that raise concerns about its suitability in consumer products and food containers. You think? Since 2008, several governments have questioned its safety. Yeah, several governments have also banned this product from being used. Our parents and grandparents knew what they were talking about when they used glass to can things with. This stuff makes cancer cells grow rapidly. Like I say, it is a female not growth hormone, but a sex hormone. And we've all been ingesting this stuff since 1957. Can you say that this could probably be a cause of a lot of the problems people are having? And this just blows me away. This makes me sick. Neurological issues. Disruption of the dopaminergic system. Thyroid function. Cancer research. Breast cancer. Neuroblastoma. Prostate development and cancer. I mean, come on. Guys, we've been really screwed over big time by these evil, wicked people in the industrial thing. I mean, this is messed up. Sexual difficulties. A 2009 study of Chinese workers in BPA factories found that workers were 4 times more likely to report erectile dysfunction. Yeah, that's why Viagra is so frickin' popular right now. People can't get it up because they've been poisoned since 1957. Human exposure sources. I mean, this is just insane. Fetal and early childhood exposure. Yeah. We have kids that are 6 years old who don't think that they should be a boy. They want to be a girl. Or don't think that they should be a girl. They want to be a boy. I mean, you think this could have something to do with it? Y'all, we've been being poisoned. And when you put it in the microwave and nuke it, it leaches more into your stuff. I'm going to put links down here to this and links to some other things, so you can study it. Yeah. Denmark passed a resolution to ban this stuff in baby bottles. In Belgium, they proposed legislation to ban this stuff. You know, everybody's been doing something but us. Well, not everybody, but you think that they're going to do anything? Organizations such as the American Chemistry Council have lobbied to make BPA federally recognized as a safe product. Huh. That's in the United States. We're backwards from the world, people. Can you believe this? I mean, this is just insane. This is bad. And we've been getting it since we were babies from the bottle. Our mothers knew. They didn't know what they was doing when they was heating up that baby bottle on the stove, leaching that stuff into the milk we drank, into the foods we eat. This one guy did a study, and then within 24 hours, the levels in the pure water that he put in the cans had gone to high levels. I'm going to put that video down here too, a link to it. But, you know, we got to stop all this crap. We're dying, we're getting sick, new diseases popping up all the time. They're killing us. They are killing us. We all know that they want to kill us anyways, where there's too many people on the earth, right? Even though there's hundreds and thousands of square miles of nothing in the mid-United States. Nothing. People could live there, no problem. They've just said, we've got to get control of this world, people. They're killing us. They're eliminating us as fast as they can. There's a few other things here. But that's it. Nice, huh? Hope everybody's doing well. God bless, good luck to us all. This is Chatty at 1. Buy all the ammo you can, if, where, when, and how you can. Never give up your guns, because your rights go right along with them. The rights we still have left, that is.
In case you find these videos useful, please share them with others so we can help them too. Subscribe and hit the bell icon for more videos and updates. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Peace.